Sasha Konakovo is a writer for Vocal Media who wrote an article entitled 10 Signs You're Dating a Red Pillar. Now, a couple of things jumped out to me immediately. First, Sasha's bio says she hopes to marry a billionaire one day and have a lifestyle like Paris Hilton, which tells you all you need to know about her. Like most Western women, her aspirations are both unrealistic and contradictory. For starters, any billionaire who marries a woman would not allow her to have a life like Paris Hilton. Why? Because billionaires simply do not marry attention seekers. It's that simple. The second thing that jumped out to me was something that is becoming increasingly predictable with the people who attack the Crimson Capsule community, which is that they always use the lowest value men to define the entire community. These people never talk about the men who are successful, live great lives, and consistently teach men that women aren't these terrible creatures without a single redeemable quality and that there's no need to hate them. They never use men who have written books, held events, and have helped countless men to improve their lives and set them on the path to true contentment. Nope. They use the guys who hate women, do nothing but complain about them without offering solutions, and do 8-hour live streams trashing the very men they secretly wish they could be. This is disingenuous on many fronts, and they know it. Articles like this are written in bad faith and don't come anywhere close to accurately depicting what this community is about. So now that we understand the angle from which our detractors write from, let's get into it. It starts. Once in a blue moon, people will see a philosophy that is so toxic, it is incompatible with having healthy relationships. It's rare, but it happens. Sadly, it also happens with increasing frequency, now that most people get their love and life advice from the internet. The only reason Sasha is saying that it's, quote, sad that people get their love and life advice from the internet is because men have actually started benefiting from it. You see, women have been getting love and life advice on the internet really since its inception, and nobody has ever really seemed to have a problem with it. Even though the internet tells women to sleep around, lie to their husbands and boyfriends, and be independent. But now that men are able to share their stories about the true nature of women, now it's a problem. This stance is indicative of their critiques of anything that is beneficial to men. Testosterone replacement therapy immediately comes to mind. TRT is thought of as evil or the boogeyman because it helps men physically and mentally and helps keep men virile and young. Men who have high testosterone levels are in better shape, they're stronger, they're mentally sharper, and they can attract younger, tighter women and live lives of dominance. I mean, hell, there are even men who advocate against testosterone therapy. Male birth control also comes to mind. The media is constantly speaking out against the progress of Vassal gel, which is a developmental form of male birth control for no other reason but that it takes control away from women. They want us to be satisfied with just using condoms, which, by the way, can be tampered with or retrieved by women to impregnate themselves unbeknownst to the man who used it. Vassal gel, theoretically, would give us much more control over our reproductive rights, but because it helps men, it is thought of as a, quote, bad thing. Well, the same goes with the red pill. The Crimson Capsule has improved men in ways that have changed their lives and the lives of people around them for the better. But because the Crimson Capsule also teaches men about the true nature of women and how to navigate and mitigate it, it is viewed as misogynistic and toxic. Sasha continues, the red pill, which was originally a forum started on Reddit, is one of those kinds of philosophies. Known for being misogynistic and hateful towards women, the red pill espouses ideas that advocate for EPAR spelled backwards, claims that women only want men who have money, and also maintains a strong belief that women are inferior and unable to determine what they want. More fallacies, guys, and I'll discuss why this chick is way off base here. But first, let me quickly remind you about a relationship course Devin and I are releasing on September 1st entitled Relationship Foundation Fundamentals. Everyone knows that in order to have a healthy and fulfilling relationship that can stand the test of time and adversity, you have to build a rock-solid foundation. The vast majority of relationship issues these days start at the beginning of the relationship. In other words, future problems can be eliminated by simply understanding what to and what not to do during the courting and selection process. Devin and I will teach you the ins and outs of building a solid foundation upon which to build the best relationship you've ever had. In addition to the extensive and comprehensive material in this course, I will teach the men what to look for, what to avoid, and what's necessary to attract a woman with potential, and Devin and I will teach women how to avoid players and how to attract the man you want and need, and much more. In the coming days and weeks, I'll be announcing the massive bonuses included in the course, which includes a week-long series of live relationship foundation building webinars where Devin and I will answer all of your questions regarding building a solid foundation upon which to build a great relationship. To be notified of any updates, bonuses, and when the course drops, go to tsracademy.com/howtorelationship. Link in description. Okay, let's get back to Sasha's ridiculous assertion that this community advocates for EPAR. The Crimson Capsule doesn't advocate for EPAR spelled backwards, and she knows it. You see, Rouge V did a thought experiment a while back, and the media disingenuously used that experiment to call Crimson Capsule-aware men EPAR apologists, which is ridiculous. EPAR is wrong, and it's as simple as that. Everyone knows this. Now, as far as claiming that women only want men who have money, that's completely wrong. Yes, we do acknowledge that women are certainly attracted to a man's financial stability, but we don't see that as a bad thing. Why? Because we understand that a female's hard drive is programmed to seek out men with resources. Now, the crybabies who moan and groan about women only wanting men with money are not Crimson Capsule men. They're Crimson Capsule aware, but these men just complain about the unfairness of the sexual marketplace. These men are a part of the, quote, black pill community, which has absolutely nothing to do with anything we advocate here in the red pill community. Just having red pill awareness does not make a man red pill. And yes, women are inferior in areas where men are superior. Strength, physical stamina, accurate risk assessment, rationality, and emotional control come to mind immediately. Now, yes, there are women who are more rational, less impulsive, have masculine traits that benefit them in some way, shape, or form. And yes, there are men who have little emotional control, are impulsive, and have feminine traits that hinder them. But those are the gross exceptions to the rule. And as we all know, the exception never makes the rule. But acknowledging that men are superior in certain areas isn't misogynistic. It's the truth. Men are the dominant gender when it comes to masculine traits in every quantifiable way. But women are superior to men when it comes to feminine traits. Risk aversion, social aptitude, nurturing and compassion, just to name a few. However, women don't want praise and accolades for being feminine. Oh no, they want masculine praise for masculine traits. Today's women let the world know that they believe that feminine traits are inferior based on their actions and belief system. So what this tells us is that it is women who engage in misogyny and not men. The bottom line is that men and women, we complement each other. And this is in any situation. Relationships, work, family, you name it, we complement each other. Men bring things to the table that women generally can't, and women bring things to the table that men do not. This doesn't make men or women superior or inferior to one another. So again, women who praise masculine traits are denigrating their own gender. Misogyny is not perpetuated by men. It is women who push this agenda, and they don't even realize it. She continues, simply put, it's a forum that regularly advocates for mental, physical, and emotional isuba spelled backwards as a ways to control women. Dating a Crimson Capsuler, or as they're also called, Terper, is a good way to become a victim of domestic isuba. Do you see how she is equating a man's unwillingness to give in to a woman's emotional shenanigans as domestic isuba? Do you see how she also snuck in the physical isuba? Crimson Capsule men don't need to put our hands on women to get what we want out of them. We know that we cannot control women, nor are we interested in controlling them. We don't need to use emotional or mental isuba either. Instead, we give women choices, and choices come with consequences both good and bad. But women like to characterize these choices as, quote, ultimatums or isuba simply because they don't like their options. They want to have it both ways at all times. And when men endorse a mindset that does not allow a woman to have it both ways, they call it mental, physical, and emotional isuba. It's the same way they call men who don't worship the ground they walk on as a-holes. Anyone who believes in sex positivity, she continues, girl power movement, or even wants to have a healthy relationship will tell you to avoid Crimson Capsule men. The problem is that it's not always easy to tell who's been reading the forum and who hasn't. Sex positivity is womanese for sleeping around. Anything women endorse that has positivity as a suffix means not being held accountable for whatever the prefix is. Sex positivity equals having a lot of sex with a lot of men and not being held accountable for it. Body positivity means being grossly overweight, but expecting men to be attracted to them. The list goes on. You see, a healthy relationship, as far as a woman is concerned, is being in a relationship where it's easy to cheat. Allowing her to text her ex is healthy. Being okay with her going to the bar or the club for girls' night out is, quote, healthy. But an unhealthy relationship or a, quote, Toxic relationship is being in a relationship where it's not easy to cheat. A man telling a woman that going to the club is forfeiting his commitment is seen as, quote, controlling and possessive. Telling a woman that she can either be on social media or be his girlfriend, but not both, is characterized as toxic. These boundaries make it very difficult for women to cheat, so they call it unhealthy. Let's continue. Speaking from someone who's encountered plenty of them, it can take a keen eye to see the signs you're dating one of these people. Here are some of the most obvious ones. One of the most obvious signs, she continues, you're dating a crimson capsuler is his attitude towards the opposite sex. Red pillars don't see women as equals, and in many cases won't even see them as real people with real feelings. No, Sasha, we don't see women as equals because women are not equal to men. But that doesn't mean we think that they're somehow inferior or less than. It simply means that we acknowledge that men and women are different. That doesn't mean we don't acknowledge that women have the potential to elevate and improve our lives. But by the same token, we now know that women are not necessary for a man's happiness, and that's what rubs women the wrong way. Now, to be fair, I can't blame women like Sasha. Their whole lives they've been taught that men can't live without them, and that behind every great man is a great woman. But the red pill debunked that myth a long time ago. Take my girlfriend, for example. She elevates my life. She makes my life better. I care for her very much, and I value my relationship with her. But I do not need her to be happy. I do not need her to be content. I would have reached this point with or without her, and we both know this. Sure, it probably would have taken a little longer, but reaching this point was a mathematical certainty. Her presence simply sped things up a bit. Let's also address this real people with real feelings nonsense. The reason men don't see a lot of women as real people with real feelings is because most women objectify themselves. They cry and complain about how men objectify them, but then they open the door by objectifying themselves with the kinds of pictures they post on social media. So here's a pro tip, ladies. If you objectify yourself, you will be treated as an object. And guess what, ladies? Objects don't have feelings. So if you wanted to be treated like a lady, present yourself as such and act like one. Booty pictures and cleavage removes your human side and turns you into an object. You cannot expect men not to objectify you if you objectify yourself. Crimson Capsule men are simply treating you the way we see you. If you want this to stop, then stop turning yourself into an object. Most of the time, red pill users will accidentally let their beliefs about women slip through casual conversation. They may say things along the line of, women don't really like men unless they're a millionaire. This goes back to the disproven Crimson Capsule belief that women are hypergamous, or that women will only be attracted to people who have higher social status or a larger paycheck than they do. Ms. Konakovo is using a technique that I like to call EFR, which stands for Extreme False Representation. They often use the EFR technique to make an idea look extreme or crazy by exaggerating something you say or do to the point where it sounds unreasonable or irrational. I talked about this in episode 501. Take a look.
And he shouldn't need a step-by-step playbook of what you're doing.
A step-by-step playbook on what you're doing. I love how she just took it to the extreme when she said step-by-step playbook. And women do this all the time, guys, when they want to make you look like you're being extreme and unreasonable in order to get away whatever it is they're trying to get away with. They disingenuously use an extreme example that is clearly a false representation of what's really happening. So, for example, if a friend of hers texts her boyfriend to let him know where she is and what she's doing, girls like her like to say, well, you don't have to give him a step-by-step playbook for him to trust you. Nobody asked for a play-by-play, hun. She's checking in from time to time to keep him informed. It is what he required of her before he committed to her. And she is complying as she should if she wants to keep his trust. Girls also like to characterize a man's requirement to refrain from girls' night out as keeping her under lock and key, or keeping her under house arrest, like she said earlier in the video, as you guys all just heard. Girls like to use this technique to once again shame you into allowing her to engage in bad behavior or to get out of something that you ask her to do. What, you want me to dress up when you take me out? It's not like we're going to a black tie event at the White House. Girl, you don't have to tell him where you are or what you're doing. He's not your father. Ms. Konakovo says that we say women don't really like men unless they're a millionaire, which is the perfect example of EFR in action. Acknowledging that women are attracted to men of means and resources is a far cry from saying women only like millionaires. Now, the black pill guys use this rhetoric all the time, but 5%ers do not. So it's no surprise that she's using these black pill losers as the bar. She also uses partial EFR when she says that we say women will only be attracted to men who have a higher social status and a larger paycheck than they do. Now, this is true, but only to an extent. Women are attracted to men of higher status and money. But if a man has higher value in other areas, women will still be attracted to them. For example, a woman who makes $65,000 a year would gladly date a man who makes less than half of that if he has a superior physique, is extremely confident, and attractive to other women. His lack of income is compensated for by his physique, his confidence, and pre-selection. That same woman would also date a guy who is flat broke, but is the lead singer of the most popular rock band in the city. His celebrity and potential for bigger and better things in the future negate his small bank account. Now, on the other side of that coin, men don't just want to date and marry perfect 10s, which is another EFR women like to use. Men like us will get with an average-looking woman if she keeps herself in great shape, takes good care of us, has a kind disposition, and stays in pocket. I practice what I preach in this regard, as this is exactly who and what my girlfriend is. She's not the prettiest girl in the world, and she is on the wrong side of 30. But she trains 5 days a week to keep her incredible physique intact. She's great in the kitchen and actually likes cooking for me. And she elevates my life outside of the 7.5 minutes of bedroom fun we have from time to time. Red pill men, we don't expect perfection, but we do expect genuine effort. And women like Sasha do not like it when men like myself teach other men not to just arbitrarily invite any woman into his life based simply on her looks and declaration that she's a great catch. Guys like me are making it harder for women like her to get over on men. They don't like that they're actually now having to work for something they used to get for nothing. You're so emotional, she continues. Ugh. Why do women have to be so sensitive? Ironic as it may be, the angry men of the Crimson Capsule tend to project their own sensitivities onto women. This is also a common tactic e-subers use in order to minimize their own wrongdoing, so that should tell you plenty. Projection, that's a word that a lot of females misuse on the regular. They can't think of anything else to say to something they disagree with a man about, so they use the "you're projecting" technique to sound like they know the psychological nuances of the male mind. I experienced this firsthand on Instagram. A little over a year ago, this black girl slid into my DMs on IG asking me for advice on making herself more approachable. When I told her that she didn't need me to give her advice on how to sleep around, she hit me with, "I can see that you have made assumptions and are projecting your inaccurate preconceived notions about black women onto me." Now, first off, this girl needs grammar and punctuation school, as you can see. But I wasn't projecting anything. I simply called her out for asking for my guidance on how to increase male eyeballs under the guise of advice on how to get noticed. And because she didn't like being called out, like most girls do, and couldn't think of a witty comeback, she went to the "I'm too dumb to think of anything to come back with" playbook and used the projection word to make her sound less dumb. Miss Konakovo did exactly the same thing here. Men don't project their sensitivities onto women by calling them out for being neurotic and emotionally unstable. That's called telling them the truth. And as we all know, women are allergic to truths that make them look bad. But here's the thing. We know that women are emotional and sensitive. Yes, it gets on our nerves, but we also understand that it is a part of who they are, so we act and handle it accordingly. Asking a woman why they're so emotional and sensitive, that's like asking a man why he likes hot girls with sexy bodies. The answer to both questions is that it's in our nature. She continues, "She slept with someone? Sorry, I can't marry that." Banana gobbler shaming is a key component of the red pill philosophy. They have serious double standards when it comes to women. They can have as much sex as they want, but if a woman gets laid, it's bad news to them. This is the typical male-female conflation women like to use to justify sleeping around. Every video, every article, every social media post by women that deals with relationships always has the "why are women shamed for sleeping around when men are praised for smashing a ton of girls?" This isn't a double standard. It is the biological programming of Mother Nature, and that programming is carried out by the very women who admonish it. Women divide their body counts by 17 because they know that women who sleep around are less value than women who do not. They also know that women are aroused by men who have a lot of bedroom experience and are turned off by men who don't. Women who also call the slut-stud conundrum a double standard never realize that they're the ones who perpetuate it. They'll publicly shame girls for sleeping around, but then turn around and speak out against sausage collector shaming. All women talk out of both sides of their mouths in this regard. Let's continue. Not all men, she continues, not all men do bad things, true, but almost all women have experienced that. Crimson Capsulers can't stand the truth. Wrong, Miss Konakovo. red pillars thrive on the truth. True red pillars, the 5%ers, we embrace the masculine burden of performance. We acknowledge that women cannot love us unconditionally. Now, we also understand that we are capable of doing some very bad things, and we don't make excuses for it. We correct our mistakes, we move on. Women, on the other hand, are allergic to the truth. When we say all women are like that, they lose their minds because they don't stop and think about the fact that we're not saying that all women are the same. They can't distinguish the difference. Women can't acknowledge that almost all men have experienced getting screwed over by them. Then they make excuses for their bad behavior. They'll say, I cheated because he didn't make me feel special. I cheated because he neglected my needs. I cheated because he was never around. Tell a woman the truth about herself and she goes absolutely mental. You want to see projection in action? You're looking at it. Because Sasha is literally saying that red pill men can't stand the truth. No, baby girl, women can't stand the truth, and you're projecting female aversion to the truth onto red pill men. That's projection, sweetie. Thanks for watching, guys.